going to say for the third round in a row that the Florida Panthers, how could they possibly do this? When we've also been saying for 3 rounds, or 2 rounds leading into this, how are the Carolina Hurricanes going to do this? You know, the Florida Panthers, because it looked for a good portion of the year like they weren't going to make the playoffs at all. The Carolina Hurricanes, because you lose Pacioretty, you lose Svechnikov, Teuvo Teravainen's not totally healthy yet to come back, and even if he does, is he going to be fully healthy?
Svechnikov was such an interesting one because he gets hurt before the beginning of the playoffs, and everyone just went, "Oh, well, that's it."
Yeah, 100%. Like of all the people that picked upsets in the first round, most of them, I think, if you were going to pick an upset in the first round, it was Carolina and the Islanders.
And I would say the 2 most popular ones actually involve teams that are in the Final Four as the favorites, though. It was the Jets beating Vegas. That didn't happen. And we got this one with Carolina. I mean, they worked the Islanders pretty easily.
Yes. And then
as easily as you can work the Islanders, I guess.
And then they worked New Jersey pretty well, too.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what the Carolina Hurricanes bring to this series first, because I want to know what their game is, and then I want to know how the Florida Panthers are going to let them play that game and still exploit it. So, what is the Carolina Hurricanes game?
Well, they get. I mean, I know you don't like Frederik Andersen very much, but probably the most consistent goaltending that the Panthers are going to come up against. Because I mean, Ilya Samsonov is playing hurt. Mm-hmm. Linus Ullmark is playing hurt. If not the most consistent goaltending they've played, they're probably playing the healthiest goalie they've played, and it's Frederik Andersen. That's wild. This dude is always injury prone, and he's going to be the healthiest goalie that the Panthers are going to run into. What is interesting here is the Hurricanes are a team that are able to take a punch, and it's important that they be better at taking a punch than giving it, because they're the ones who always have the puck. And that's why I actually think they're a really interesting, encouraging matchup for the Florida Panthers, because the Bruins always have the puck. The Leafs want to play with the puck, and they weren't able to do it against Tampa, and they won. Were able to do it against Florida and lost. I think we won't be able to take a ton from the first 2 games of the series, because I think the Panthers will be content to let the Hurricanes have as much of the puck as they want and beat them to death. Just beat the shit out of them. And this is where Rod Brind'Amour needs to be more clever than Paul Maurice. He needs to come up with a strategy that allows the Hurricanes to win while sustaining as little damage as possible. And I don't know how he's going to be able to do that.
Jesse, what do you think?
Interesting you should bring up Paul Maurice, because I thought this is a very interesting part of the dynamic that's going on with the series right now. Paul Maurice coached Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2002 and 2009.
Wow.
Brind'Amour was on the bench when Paul Maurice was leading this team.
Wow.
To the Eastern Conference Finals.
You know what I didn't realize until the series was over is Eric Stahl was on those teams as well.
Eric Stahl was there.
And friggin' now he's under Paul Maurice again.
Yeah. And so you talk about Freddie Andersen and what a stellar job he's done. And he really was one of the stars in that New Jersey series. 4 out of the 5 games. He had that one game 3 that New Jersey won where he got pulled. But outside of that, he was absolutely fantastic. And a lot of it had to do with the amount of shots that New Jersey was able to generate, which wasn't a lot. Carolina's had this terrific way of limiting their opponents in their shot share. And all of that, for me, starts and ends with Brent Burns. He has been one of the most outstanding players this entire playoffs, and it's gone kind of under the radar. He's sucked up the most minutes for the entire team. He leads their team in shots. He's leading the Carolina Hurricane in shots, which is just a strange thing to say, but it makes sense when you watch their offense. The
Incredibly
amount of pucks,
high event player.
The amount of pucks he throws at the nets and where he is at all times, and he's been one of their stars. And I don't see how Florida can beat a Carolina team that's playing at their best. Because they're the best coached team in the National Hockey League. Their system is absolutely fantastic. No matter who is in the lineup, whether half of the guys are injured or not, they're going to play the same system every single time. And if they're playing that game and they're limiting the shots that Florida can get to the net, I don't see how Carolina loses this series.
But the thing is that the shots that Florida got were always limited in both series, and they still won. And I think, to me, My thing is, can the Carolina Hurricanes, who I believe in just as much as Jesse does, can they solve Bobrovsky? Is he on one of those crazy runs that we talk about 10, 15 years from now going, this cemented his career, he's a Hall of Fame goaltender now? You got to remember, this guy's got a couple Vezinas. If he wins the Cup this year, how do you keep him out of the Hall of Fame?
The goalie at the other end of the ice is playing just as well as Bobrovsky.
What the Panthers did really well against the Leafs is Bobrovsky was really good at directing rebounds into the corner. Mm-hmm. And when he wasn't able to do that, the team was in the slot clogging it up and doing a good job.
So who's your pick? Pick one and how many games? You have to do it. And we hold you to it forever. Don't forget, if you're wrong, you're wrong forever.
That's a long
Florida.
Florida.
In 7.
Oh, so it's a barn burner series.
So
I'm just imagining, Freddie has always succeeded in the muck. Panthers get breakaways. 5-hole.
Okay.
Steve, can I ask you why? Because we haven't spent a lot of time on Florida.
Because I was picturing the way Florida scores goals, and they get these odd man rushes and they get these breakaways. Freddie got eaten alive here, and I know he's not here, and I know the Hurricanes aren't going to give up very many of those.
Here's in Toronto.
Yeah, here's in Toronto. Florida, the Hurricanes aren't going to give up very many of those. But I'm just, if you're the Panthers, what do you choose? Do you soften up Slavin or Pesci by dumping it into their corner all the time? Probably not, because he's going to have the puck out of there before you can do anything. Burns is tough as shit, but he does not have the speed to escape the Panthers before they make him make a mistake. And make no mistake, he will eventually make one. The difference is the Panthers will not be able to go at Brent Burns the way they've gone at other defenders, because you're essentially skating into a bearded elbow. And he'll mess you up. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I gained a bunch of respect from the Florida Panthers, and it's not like the penalty calls are going to go up. So Prison Rules Paul, I think, is going to have a good time in round 3.
Jesse?
I got Carolina in 6.
Fair.
I think anything that I think if it's over 4 games and you pick either team, you're probably fair. I think we'll know after game 2 which way this series is tilting. Man, it's hard to bet against the Florida Panthers for me, and so I won't. They took out the top 2 teams in the Atlantic Division, and they did it, especially against the Leafs, with relative ease. How do you not believe in that? I am rooting for the Hurricanes. I am believing in the Florida Panthers. Does that make any sense? Florida in 7.